Hey there and welcome back. In today's video we will talk about the best starting build for all solo players. This build will allow you to quickly earn fame from soloing all content, solo and group content. As we know, the more combat fame that we earn, the faster we can earn a decent amount of silver from PvE and PvP. We will talk about the benefits of this build and why it's so good for you to use. I will talk about how you will unlock the items needed, why we went with these items, and which items we will end up using once the build is complete. Now, before we jump into the video, make sure to join the Discord and become part of our growing community. This is a great way for all players to ask questions, win giveaways, and keep up with any new videos and streams. Now, without further ado, let's get into the breakdown. The build that we're breaking down today is great for solo play and sets you up for success if you're looking to switch to a PvP only oriented build. Let's talk about how this build starts and which items you will need to earn some fame with before you can use our main build. Since we are going with the Battle Axe, that will require you to start with a tier 2 broadsword. Once you unlock tier 3, you'll be able to choose a tier 3 axe as your weapon. You'll do this with all of your other items as well. Now, I recommend going with the Hunter Hood as your helmet slot. You'll have the ability to reflect mob damage, and in PvP fights, you can reflect bursts and large amounts of damage up to 85%. You will need to take a tier 2 mercenary jacket to unlock the leather armor tree, which gives you access to tier 3 helms, armors, and boots. For your armor piece, you will start off with the mercenary jacket. This is huge against strong solo mobs and 1v1 since you can heal up quickly with bloodlust. Now for your offhand, you will start off with torch, which will provide you with the attack speed and cooldown reduction. To unlock the torch, you will need to hit tier 3 with a tier 2 novice bow. I recommend getting both your tier 2 broadsword and tier 2 bow to tier 3 early so you can use the battle axe and torch together. For your boots, I recommend going with scholar boots. The Battle Axe tends to spam abilities quite a bit, which uses a fair amount of energy, and the energetic sprint is huge to provide you some sort of energy sustain. Now, for your cape, I recommend using Limhurst cape for soloing bosses and group content, as this will provide you with a great amount of energy for longer fights. Other than that, you'll want to use the Avalonian cape for extra damage and a damage reduction debuff to your enemy. So now that we have an idea of what build we want to use, let's talk about why we want to go with this build in comparison to any other. When it comes to the Battle Axe, it is simply the strongest and most versatile when talking solo content. You can do normal solo content and easily solo group content like the roads, dungeons, and statics. These are all great ways to build combat fame, and as your Battle Axe gets stronger, this will also transition to doing huge amounts of damage with high sustain in PvP. There are very little items out there that can really do all of this at a high level, so let's talk about why we chose to go with the Mercenary Jacket and Hunter Hood. Now, these two items may not be the items that you end up with late game. There will be better options depending on the content that you're doing. For example, the Spectre Hood and Hellion Jacket do well in soloing group content, and the Hellion Jacket does very well in small scale PvP and open world or even mist PvP since you can heal off multiple targets. Now, for the benefit of going with a Hunter Hood and Mercenary Jacket is that you'll have the damage and sustain early to solo difficult content, allowing you to earn combat fame quickly, and you'll be suited for any PvP that might break out. Since all these items are leather, you will automatically have mastery in Spectre Hood and Hellion Jacket, meaning you'll only need to level up their spec once you make that switch. So let's talk about why we went with the torch. Torch is a cheap item that synchronizes very well with other abilities like the Mercenary Jacket's Bloodlust and Battle Axe's Adrenaline Boost, and the increased attack speed will make sure that you pump out as much damage as possible and sustain. You also get a cooldown modifier. Now, Torch isn't really the item that you'll want to end up with endgame. The item I recommend is Muisak. Muisak falls under a different item tree. You'll have to unlock it through the Fire Staff and then Tome of Spells. The reason you don't start with Muisak is that it's on the more expensive side. Once you feel ready and have enough silver, you can run Muisak, which increases all of your abilities' damage and increases your healing. This is huge to pair up with your sustain in PvP and more difficult encounters. So depending on what type of content you're planning on doing, your spec will vary a bit. However, the starting build I recommend is a great foundation to go off and is very successful in its own right. I do want to share a few builds that you can branch out into from this build. I'm not going to go into detail for the next 3 builds, however, I will name off each item and ability I recommend taking. Now, the first build I recommend running is for solo group content like the group dungeons and statics. You will go with Spectre Hood with Flash of Insight and Balanced Mind. For your armor, you will take Hellion Jacket with Lifesteal Aura and Balanced Mind. For your offhand, you will go with the Muisak. For your Battle Axe, you will take Rending Rage or Rending Spin if you haven't unlocked it yet. Adrenaline Boost for your W. Blood Bandit, and Deep Cuts for your passive. Your boots will be the Guardian Plate boots for the Giant ability. Now, the build that you will go with for soloing content in the roads, including tier 6 blue chest bosses, For single target mobs, you go with a Spectre Hood, Mercenary Jacket for Bloodlust, a Torch or Muisok Offhand, Royal Sandals for Defenseless Rush, and a Limher's Cape for Energy Sustain. Now, if you are looking to PvP in the open world or mist, where you might fight multiple people and mobs, I recommend taking Fiend Cowl for Purge, which purges mobility, reflect, bloodlust, and immunity shields, your Hellion Jacket for AoE healing, Muisok Offhand for the extra damage and healing, Royal Sandals for the increased damage, and an Avalonian Cape for the increased damage and damage reduction debuffs. As I mentioned, the Battle Axe is very strong and versatile. I strongly recommend going with the initial build for any new player, or if you've been playing for a while and are looking for a weapon that can do it all, this is the build for you. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to like and subscribe for more Albion Online content. I stream 6 days out of the week on Twitch from 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. noon Central, or 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. UTC, and every Tuesday here on YouTube. Make sure to stop by and say hello.